And we can start now, Yelena. The recording button is on.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great pleasure for me to be with you today and to present some of the great work that the OSCE does and some of the great women that work for the organization. This is our monthly webinar, part of the OSCE's webinar outreach program. If this is the first time you're joining us, thank you for your interest in the OSCE. We hope that you will learn a lot today about the important work that we do across Europe and in Central Asia and the Caucasus. This month, the topic of our webinar is on women at the OSCE, supporting the comprehensive approach to security. And this is part of a comprehensive sourcing and outreach program to promote us, our organization, as an employer of choice to qualified applicants across participating states. My name, as Gustavo mentioned, but in case some of you tuned in a little later, is Jelena Shegan, and I work as the acting OSCE ethics coordinator at the headquarters of the OSCE in the Secretariat in Vienna. I work in the Department of Human Resources, but with a direct reporting line on substance matters to the OSCE Secretary General. I'm responsible for fostering an organizational culture of ethics, integrity, transparency, and accountability. And I support the implementation of ethics-related policies and guidance to all employees across the organization. In terms of what this might entail, I can mention that some of the topics that are of keen interest to our senior management, where we have a zero tolerance approach, include behaviors such as or breaches of proper behavior such as sexual harassment, discrimination, retaliation, and I work with the Secretary General on assessing conflicts of interest, receipt of gifts, remunerations, donations, etc. So I'm quite proud to say that the OSCE pays significant attention to these topics in order to be a place that not only attracts excellent employees but retains them as well in a professional working environment. Now, let's meet some of the talented professionals at the OSCE. They will tell us about their career journeys. They'll tell us about their experience and the value added by the OSCE to their professional lives. Some of them have just started, while others have been at the organization for a while. I may also mention, with regards to myself, that prior to having the acting ethics coordinator appointment and my role in the Department of Human Resources, I worked in several functions in the Secretariat, in the Conflict Prevention Center, on the methodology of our project management, which I think is an interesting area for those of you who want to work on projects. We have an important approach that is very structured and in line with best practices across international organizations. And I worked also for a mission, one of the OSCE missions. I come from Serbia myself, and this is where I started my career with the OSCE 17 years ago. So, Kelfia, please, I would like to make sure that you start with your introduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jelena, and good afternoon to everyone one more time. My name is Gelfia Shienko, and I'm Director for Management and Finance here at the Secretariat. I joined the OSCE in May this year, and I'm from Tajikistan.
Thank you. Tea.
Thank you, Jelena, and hello everyone. My name is Tea Jalashvili. I come from Georgia, and I also recently joined the OSCE in the capacity of the Deputy Head of the Program Office in Dushanbe. So very pleased to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tea. Ilknur?
Hello everybody again. So my name is İknur Topçu. I'm coming from Turkey. I have been with the organization since September. I'm also one of the newly joined ones. And then I work at the Secretariat in Vienna as Information Security Officer.
Thank you very much for this introduction. During our conversation today, we will learn a lot more about what these successful women do at the OSCE. But this was the intro that I'm very grateful for. Adrina?
Hello, everyone. My name is Drina Milford. I'm the hub leader for the Kramatorsk region. I have been with OSCE for 4.5 years now.
Thank you. Olga?
Greetings from Ukraine. I'm Olga Skripovskaya, seconded by Republic of Moldova. I have military background, Lieutenant Colonel, retired. My expertise include United Nations peacekeeping missions in Western Africa as a military observer and team leader of military observers in United Nations in Liberia and Ivory Coast. I joined OSCE in the very beginning of 2015 as a team leader of Donetsk monitoring team, and since June last year, I'm team leader of Kharkiv monitoring team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olga. Let's see what our agenda for today is. This is what we will cover. We will present you a brief overview of the OSCE regarding the fields of expertise that we typically hire for and the locations of our operations. We'll learn more about our speakers and their career journeys. We'll engage in a conversation about what it's like to work in our organization and why other women should consider us as an employer of choice. We will discuss our lives as professionals in a security and cooperation organization, including a few personal tips on career management. We'll highlight a few application tips for you that may be beneficial to potential applicants. And we will take a few of your questions as well. Hopefully, if we have enough time, this would be amazing. And we will direct you to further resources. We'll talk about the UN Security Council Resolution 1325. We'll mention the Gender Action Plan as well. And as I said, career management at the OSCE and application tips will be aspects for you to look into in more detail. Moving on to Olga. Olga, are you with us?
Yes, just a second. My sound disappeared.
No problem.
Can you hear me?
We hear you now very well.
Excellent. 20 years ago, 31st of October 2000, happened something really great and important. United Nations Security Council adopted Resolution 1325 on women and peace and security, which made an extraordinary conceptual leap and opened new great perspectives, harmonizing world development vector. It's one of the most important documents of 21st century, practical guidance which opened many other doors for women all over the world in all spheres, not only equal participation of women in peacekeeping operations together with men, but also empowering women, supporting full involvement of all women in all efforts for maintenance and promotion of peace and security in the world. It guides to protect women and girls from gender-based violence, particularly rape and other forms of sexual abuse, in situation of armed conflict, and reaffirms the important role of women in the prevention and resolution of conflicts, peace negotiations, peace building, peacekeeping, humanitarian response, and post-conflict reconstruction, and also urge all actors to increase participation of women and incorporate gender perspective in all United Nations peace and security efforts. Like an example, my country sent me as the first female peacekeeper in a UN peacekeeping operation in 2007 only after 7 years of adoption. So some countries are still working on it.
Thank you so much. That is an excellent introduction into why gender equality is so important for us. I might add also that the OSCE has a gender action plan from 2004 that promotes gender equality, and specifically it's interesting for our applicants to know that our recruitment practices significantly emphasize gender equality in recruitment. We have adopted as a central structure in the OSCE here in Vienna, so in the Department of Human Resources, a gender parity strategy as of 2019 that works on our organizational culture in terms of diversity, respect, and inclusion, where everyone feels safe and supported at work and is allowed an equal opportunity, of course, on the basis of merit, high qualifications, and required skills, to join our organization as well. I think it is very important for our listeners to understand how it is that the OSCE came about. We have a strong relationship with the United Nations. It's one of our closest partners. We initiated this cooperation in 1992 when our 57 participating states declared the OSCE to be a regional arrangement in the sense of Chapter VIII of the Charter of the United Nations. The OSCE recognizes that the UN Security Council bears primary responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security. Thus, that is our primary partner organization. Also, it is important to note that in 1993, a framework for cooperation and coordination between the UN Secretariat and the OSCE was agreed upon. And in the same year, 1993, the UN granted the then called SCSE conference. We started off as a conference. They granted us observer status at the UN. After 11th September 2001, our cooperation with the UN was further enhanced to include active OSCE support for the work of the UN and its specialized bodies in the global efforts against terrorism. So the shared UN-OSCE agenda includes a number of thematic areas, such as ratification and implementation of the 12 universal anti-terrorism instruments, conflict settlement and peace building, early warning and conflict prevention, small arms and light weapons, border management, environmental and economic aspects of security, anti-trafficking, democratization and human rights, and freedom of the media. I think it's important for you to understand that the OSCE functions on the basis of three main, we call them dimensions. So political, military dimension, the human dimension, and the economic and environmental dimension. So for all of those applicants who are interested, educated, and experienced in these subject matters, we are really an excellent organization for future careers. Further, I would like to also mention that our website provides important information and quite comprehensive information about what it is that we do and who we are. So I encourage you to visit the website osce.org. As well as our LinkedIn page. When you get to the LinkedIn page for the OSCE, there is a section called Life where you could find extremely useful information for your applications. Please note that the working language of the OSCE is English, so your applications must be submitted in English. How would you know that you are eligible? As mentioned before, being an international multilateral organization of 57 participating states, which spans, as we say, from Vancouver to Vladivostok. What does that mean? We have citizens from Northern America, all through Europe, as well as in Caucasus and in Central Asia. We are working for stability in the OSCE region. So even though we are an organization that states, even in its title, that it's about Europe, we have member states that are not necessarily within Europe, but are bordering Europe, because they contribute to stability, peace, and democracy. And proud to say that we actually cover this extremely important area for over 1 billion people through political dialogue about shared values and through practical work that aims to make a lasting difference. If you can recognize your flag on the screen, it's because your country is a participating state of the OSCE. About 3,500 people work for the OSCE in 5 institutions and 16 field operations, or missions, as we call them as well. There are tremendous opportunities for you, from field work in offices in Southeastern Europe, in Eastern Europe, South Caucasus, and Central Asia, to positions in the institutions, as we call them. These are the independent institutions, ODIHR in Warsaw, HCNM in The Hague, and also there are many positions at the OSCE Secretariat here in Vienna, perhaps focusing rather on administrative roles, but also encompassing many other thematic areas as well. So these positions, actually, we are convinced we can say keep the organization ticking every day. The work of the OSCE, as I mentioned, encompasses really the globe, and most of us work, the vast majority of us work in the missions. Primarily, our special monitoring mission in Ukraine is the biggest, organization, and the biggest executive structure with the largest number of staff. I would like us to actually cover some of the fields of expertise. I said that we have 3 so-called dimensions of the OSCE: political, military, human dimension, and economic and environmental dimension. But there are quite a lot of administrative roles, whether this may be finance, human resources, asset management, procurement. The specific thematic areas that we cover include media freedom and development. Here in Vienna, for example, we have the representative of freedom of the media. We cover national minority issues. We cover education, combating human trafficking, tolerance and non-discrimination, all of which come under what we call the human dimension of the OSCE. I think in terms of the political military dimension, it's relevant that we deal with arms control, where our participating states actually work together to make sure that we promote stability and peace and conflict prevention. Further on, regarding the Gender Action Plan from 2004, I would like to state that we are here with Thea, who has a very nice introduction for you about what the Gender Action Plan on the promotion of gender equality from 2004 entails in our work. Thea, please.
Thank you, Elena. As you have already touched upon a little bit, of course, even this year we continued to setting up our commitments for advancing gender equality and women's rights across the organization. And certainly we do all agree that we must work together with a view to achieve those objectives that are very much emphasized in 2004 OSCE Gender Equality Action Plan. To be even more specific, so what we have done so far is that at the institutional level, important steps were taken to reach the gender parity in staffing and also to create an enabling working environment with this regard. For example, this included the adoption of the gender parity strategy of 2019 and 2026, which has more firmly anchored existing gender equality initiatives into a strategic framework. In addition, we have this enhanced outreach to underrepresented groups and more equitable selection processes, which have been contributing to 51% of international contracted positions recruited since July 2019 going to women. Of course, progress around gender parity in senior management position across the organization remained a little bit slow and will require further and more effective actions. However, I'm very pleased to mention and very happy to report that out of 5 director-level positions at the OSCE Secretariat advertised last year, 4 women have been identified and the strongest candidates, and I'm very pleased to have Ms. Gelfia Shienko today with us, also addressing the audience. So the OSCE moreover, aims to provide equal opportunities for women and men, as well as to integrate gender equality into policies and practices both within the participating states and the organization itself. And of course, with the local partners, the OSCE develops and runs projects across the OSCE region to empower women and build local capacities and expertise on gender issues. In addition, it cooperates with authorities in reviewing legislation and assisting in building national mechanisms to ensure equality between men and women. So I think that it's very, very brief introduction, Yelena, but of course, I mean, a lot of information can be found on our webpage. But I truly believe that we are doing our best with a view to enhance and to contribute to the gender parity and to the eventual realization and implementation of 2004 OSCE Gender Equality Action Plan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thea. We move on to the section that concerns our speakers, a little bit about their career journeys, where they're from, about their educational background, where they worked before coming to the OSCE, why they chose the OSCE, and where they are located. I think I gave quite a comprehensive introduction with regards to myself. I wouldn't like to spend too much time more, but I have experience of working in humanitarian organizations prior to joining the OSCE, an educational background that refers to philology and international relations, and I come from Belgrade, Serbia. So moving on to my extremely experienced and dear colleagues, I turn the floor to our Director for Management and Finance. Gelfia, please.
Thank you very much, Yelena. Very, very happy to introduce myself to the audience. As I said earlier, I'm from Tajikistan, and for those of you familiar with the region, I'm Tatar. I was born and spent my early childhood in a small village, now town, Gavurdak, in Turkmenistan. I hold a specialist degree in applied linguistics from the Tajik State Institute for Languages and a master in business administration, cum laude, from the Edinburgh Business School, Heriot-Watt University, Scotland, UK. Prior to joining the OSCE, I've worked for over 20 years in the UN across 4 different organizations. Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, UN Development Program, UN Volunteers Program, and UN Children's Fund. In my own country, Tajikistan, but also in Iraq, Ukraine, Germany, and the USA. My roles included managing budget and finance of large and small organizations. Just for the sake of comparison, UNV, UN Volunteers, annual budget is around 50 million, while UNICEF, UN Children's Fund, is $7.5 billion US dollars per annum. But also general operations, corporate planning, monitoring, and reporting on results. In all my career moves, I've always looked for a right combination of a role and a mandate of the organization. And my current role makes a perfect combination of an interesting and challenging post, but also an honorable mandate of the world's largest security organization. I'm based in Vienna and an owner of managing one of the Secretariat's largest Department for Management and Finance. Thank you, Elena. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Gilfia. We have Thea now to tell us a bit more about her experience and to inspire you into thinking about a career with the OSCE. Thea, please.
Thank you, Elena. So, hello everyone again. So, as I mentioned prior, I'm from Georgia and only recently joined the OSCE in the capacity of the Deputy Head of Program Office in Dushanbe. Before joining the OSCE, I was Deputy Director at the Women's Information Center and was extensively engaged in strengthening civil society's capacities in protecting and advancing rights of women, of course, along with supporting greater gender equality. And I truly believe that women can, women act, and women change, and this is the motto that underpins every action of mine. Prior to this, I worked for the UN, Council of Europe, and European Union joint initiatives in Western Balkan and South Caucasus countries, and within the wider framework of achieving peace and just society based on the principles of good governance and rule of law, I participated and contributed to legislative changes, policy and institutional developments, inter alia, strengthening and harmonizing the work for the judiciary and non-human rights institutions. So, and why did I choose the OSCE? Because I truly believe that the OSCE is the right place to employ my skills and knowledge in meeting with evolving needs of our beneficiaries. Well, as I mentioned, I'm currently working as a deputy head of the program office in Dushanbe, and under the overall strategic leadership of our head of office, my current job allows me to translate best practices, international standards into eventual practical actions. And of course, I mean, our work is based on quite a broad international network and collaboration with various actors. And we aim to facilitate, most importantly, local ownership and, of course, implementation of the OSCE principles and commitments. Very, very briefly about myself, but just one thing that I would like to mention about the OSCE and the place that I choose is that I truly believe that this is exactly the domain, exactly the place where multicultural environment blends in harmony with universal values and principles. So I really enjoy working for this organization. Thank you, Yelena.
Yeah, thank you very much for this inspirational life and career journey, for sharing it with our listeners. And I would assert once again the multicultural and inclusive approach that the OSCE has towards its recruitment and as well as its operations. Proof of that is our next speaker, İlknur, who comes from Turkey, and it would be a great pleasure also to hear her career journey and experience at the OSCE. Moving to you, İlknur.
Thank you, Yelena. So I'm coming from Turkey and have been living in Vienna since 2012. I have business administration bachelor degree and currently doing my MBA. So in addition to my bachelor degree, I have trainings and certifications by internationally recognized audit bodies like CISA, CRISC, PCI DSS, QSA, COVID-5 Foundation certificates, which are mainly relevant to the information security. I'm an experienced information security and financial audit professional with more than 11 years international work experience within the consulting industry. As you can understand, I'm mainly coming from the private industry and I'm quite new into the international organizations. So I have worked at PwC and Cotton in Istanbul. So I joined my journey with the audit company. So during that time, I was doing the financial audit and I just get specialized there. Then I moved to Vienna. Then I made a turn in my career and I moved into the information security and information security audit and consulting mainly. So then I work in Cognizant. This was one of the niche consulting company focusing on the cyber security and information security. I have worked there for 7 years, gained all my trainings and the certificates. So I work with many international organizations all around the world and help them to put their security, information security and data security to the organizations. And I have also conducted audits throughout the organizations. For that reason, I'm quite familiar with working with all other cultures and the collaboration with the stakeholders. Then this is really the basis that helped me to also come here. Then my last job was at ING. So I work as the information risk manager. So I was the second line defense there, that like trusted advisor and consultant. And then I started working at the OSCE since September. So why I choose the OSCE? Because I really wanted to be part of the organization. It's an exceptional place to work and make a difference. So after having a child, I think my opinion has changed where I belong. Then I decided to make a change in my career journey, and I really wanted to be part of the OSCE. Then I started doing my applications and then elaborating it, and then I really emphasize it. I really want to add the value to the organization with my expertise that I have gained over 11 years. So now I am acting as an information security officer at the Secretariat, and I'm responsible for management of OSCE-wide information security framework mainly. My role involves the establishment of common information security policy, vision, objectives, principles across the organization. And I also act as focal point for information security for our field operations or executive structures, and contributing and coordinating OSCE-wide information security approaches to secure our information and facilitating the sharing of advice and knowledge. So I'm also here acting as like a second line defense and as a trusted advisor and working all of the executive structures to enhance our information security. Thank you, Yelena. I think that's all from my side for now.
Thank you so much for your life and career journey presentation. Adrina, I would like to ask you to also tell us a little bit about where you're from, what your educational background is, where you worked prior to joining the OSCE. Tell us why you chose the OSCE specifically, and where you're located now. Thanks.
Okay. Hello again, everyone. I'm Drina. I'm from a small, quaint town called St. Stephen's, located in South Carolina on the coast of Charleston. My educational background is criminology. Before I came to the OSCE, I started my career off at Berkeley County Sheriff Office as a deputy. I worked for the UN in Kosovo as an advisor to Chief of Investigations and in the Intelligence and Analysis Cell. I worked for the EU in Kosovo as well in investigations. I then left Kosovo after 7 years and worked for the Abu Dhabi government as a certified instructor at the police academy for all the females that I instructed. After 2.5 years there, I was offered an investigation position in Haiti with the UN, where I worked for 3.5 years before I came to OSCE. I chose OSCE because you have the ability to work with international people from all around the world. In addition, you work with experts in one area or another, and the organization itself focuses on field missions where you really see you're making a difference and the impact on the ground. I am currently located in Kramatorsk region, and I am the hub leader here. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Drina. Olga, moving on to you, give us a little bit more on your educational background, inspiration to work for and motivation to work for the OSCE, and where you're located.
Okay, thank you, Elena. So I think I took a lot of time to introduce myself in the first line. So, Olga Skripovskaya, seconded by Republic of Moldova, 22 years of service as an army officer in Moldovan National Army, UN peacekeeper in Western Africa, Liberia and Ivory Coast, with OSCE almost 6 years, and in special monitoring mission in Ukraine as a team leader in the field operations, started with Donetsk monitoring team, and now in Kharkiv. So I think this is the OSCE as an organization, and our mission, special monitoring mission in Ukraine, is great example of diversity. Civilian mission working in operational environment along the contact line, the longest contact line in modern history, around 500 kilometers, where police and military experts hand-in-hand work with civilian experts, human rights, political, social, economic experts, cooperating effectively towards common goal. So for me, OSCE is great cooperation at all levels. It's a great example of diversity. Every working day, every minute is cooperation, and I really enjoy this wonderful working environment and contribution to peace and stability. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. I would like to pose a question to our speakers that might be not so easy, which is to tell us what it's like for you working for the OSCE in 1 or 2 words. Would you be able to do that for our listeners? Yeah?
Sure, Yelena. I mean, to me, it can be described in 2 words, interesting and important. So why interesting? Because I see it as a process of a wider coordination, cooperation, and consultation. Process of channeling of multi-stakeholders and leading multicultural teams. And why important? Because, I mean, although incremental, but on a daily basis, you can feel and you can sense some steady and step-by-step tangible results. And where you can also observe and feel how the universal values and principles are eventually translated into practical actions. So this is how I feel, and this is what is the experience, I mean, looks like working for the OSCE.
Thanks. Thank you. So an interesting and important job. What about Olga? How would you, in 1 or 2 words, describe your experience at the OSCE so far?
To make it short, long story short, and use metaphoric character, I would say that to run operations smoothly, you have to fit a round peg in a square hole. I mean, working in operational environment is the most challenging and exciting at the same time. So you have to do, this is very straightforward and goal-oriented job, which requires, on one hand, sharp skills and effectiveness, and on another hand, you have to be extremely careful and execute this task along the contact line. So meticulously evaluate the risk and assessment. So to be as effective as possible and as careful as possible at the same time.
Thank you for that. What about you, Ilknur? How would you describe your experience so far at the OSCE?
Oh, I can say that with 2 words, I think it's quite exciting and I feel really proud. So why it is exciting? Because I'm coming from private industry, which I have worked in the consulting side generally, which is quite highly agile and dynamic. And I can say that the main dynamics are different in the international organizations. But however, it's great to know that I'm adding value to the organization with my strong expertise that I gained in the consulting times, actually. So now I'm bringing new perspectives to make difference. So which makes me proud of it, and I feel really proud being part of this mission. So and adding the organization to my career path within my vision and knowledge, definitely. This is the exciting part for me, because now I'm just learning a lot of new things, and these are bringing me new perspectives. For example, I have never heard about the cyber diplomacy before I joined the OSCE. But now it's in my dictionary, and I'm quite curious about it. I have always thought that after 11 years in this industry, I have learned all of the things. But what I see now, that there are so many new perspectives or knowledge that I can join or I can gain here in the organizations. So for that reason also I feel that it's quite exciting for me, even for my role. So these very new concepts for me, and I'm quite curious about it, and I'm learning additional aspects like diplomacy and dialogue into my expertise. This is also one of, I think, the best thing that I'm really happy about it now.
Thank you so much for sharing that, dear colleagues. I would like us also to reflect a little bit on why women in specific should consider the OSCE. We mentioned our comprehensive approach to security. We mentioned our commitment to gender equality, to inclusion, to diverse backgrounds and diverse opinions. I would like to ask my colleagues to tell me why, or to tell all of us, why women should consider working for the OSCE. Gelsia, maybe?
Thank you very much, Yelena. I actually very much like how in our webinar we link together UN resolution on women, peace and security with OSCE and careers for women in the OSCE. I am a firm believer that women have a huge role to play in all areas, including peace and security. And with the OSCE, they can contribute in a number of domains, including management and finance, which has traditionally been considered as a hard or male-dominated domain. Well, in my experience, I've noticed that having gender-balanced management team improves quality of management decisions, reduces workplace conflicts, and increases productivity. Gender balance cannot be a number game only. Women also need to be at the tables where important decisions are made. Then who should bring the women to those tables? I think everyone. I would also like to call upon my fellow women on the call. Ladies, do not wait for someone to give you a seat at the table. Bring that famous folding chair and take the space. Management and finance is a critical aspect of any organizational life. It is transferable skills and career as well. Wherever you go, wherever you worked before, and wherever you would want to go after the OSCE, everywhere people will use money or equivalent, maybe cryptocurrency, I don't know. But everywhere we will need management as well. So I can only highly recommend consider OSCE as an employer for any woman out there. Thank you, Yelena. Over to you.
Thanks so much for this inspirational introduction. Dale, what about you? Why should women consider working for the OSCE, do you think?
Because Yelena and colleagues, I think that this is the right place where your skills can be utilized and knowledge, and where you will be appreciated and applauded for your efforts and for the results achieved. So it's indeed the right place to employ your skills and knowledge. You apply.
Thank you so much. Drina?
Hi, I would recommend every female who has the required background, not only military or police, but to include liberal arts and other skill sets to apply for the monitoring position within OSCE. Basically, they need to know that OSCE will provide them a multinational and diverse environment where everyone is accepted and respected, where they will be able to contribute towards the peace and the stability and enhance their knowledge about the work in the field. They should apply because their experience and knowledge will be prized and will be added value for the organization. This is the right place if you wish to contribute to the peace and stability for diverse perspective. OSCE is a multicultural environment where universal values and principles are applied. And I am very happy here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lovely to hear this. Olga, would you have also tips for other women who would like to work for the OSCE?
Absolutely, Elena. Thank you very much for giving the floor. I think OSCE is great opportunity for all women, those who are in the beginning of their career, in the middle of their career, or who are post-career, like me, for example. So there are many women here when they completed one career and started another. For beginners, it's great opportunity to get strong start and meet top professionals who lead by example and learn to follow the example. So you will see many experts from different fields here in any OSCE office, in any field mission. Example is always inspiring. Actions are always brighter than words. So those who are in the middle of career, it's a great place to sharpen your skills, continuing your development. It's absolutely wonderful ground for you. And for those who are post-military or police career officers, so it's also a great place to apply your skills and knowledge on the ground and share it with younger generation of colleagues and contribute to common goal and values, which is the most important, because it doesn't matter which place we work in OSCE, we have common goal and common values.
Thank you so much, Olga. If I didn't work for the OSCE, I'd apply after this intro. Ilknur, I would like to ask you also for an opinion and tips for our applicants.
Thank you, Yelena. So as I already mentioned that after being a mother, my perspective on the career has changed, and I definitely wanted to be a part of the international organizations. I believe that at no time in recent history has this mission been more vital for European security than it's today. We are in times of growing division all around the world and increasingly transnational and global threats and challenges. So there are so many problems we have to figure out how to crack to build the future that we aspire to build, especially for our kids. So I believe that women should be part of the inclusive dialogue and joint action as working at the OSCE. So I definitely recommend that all the applicants to look to the OSCE as an employer, because it's an amazing opportunity to work with people, so many diverse backgrounds and coming from the 57 participating states. So women now should leave their comfort zone, take action and raise their voices to improve the lives of individuals and communities. And the OSCE is I think the best place to accomplish as it is the key governmental organization on this process. So I definitely say all these women or inspired women here, not stay back, just, make a movement and try to your chance to be a part of this exceptional place.
Thank you, dear colleagues, for these interesting tips for our applicants. I would also like to look a little more closely into what it is that had been most exciting for you working for the OSCE. Think of a story of an exciting project, a situation or some event that you participated in, and tell us how it added to your career and how it added to things that you were doing on a daily basis. The more personal and the more specific these experiences are, the better. So I kindly invite maybe Olga to tell us a bit more about her most exciting experiences here.
Thank you, Elena. For me, for my career here in OSCE, it's very very interesting. Each day is very interesting because it's field operation and it's always involve your soft skills, your empathy, emotional intelligence, passion. You have to love your work, and this keeps you moving. Without love, you may be tired in the end of the day. So you need a lot of energy. It definitely will help. So what I would, without concrete example, but generally to embrace what I face every day on the ground in OSCE, flexibility, respect for diversity are keys. So soft skills, emotional intelligence, empathy, understanding of your colleagues, local population, so general concept of organization, vector of your movement, and a lot of energy. This is exactly what definitely will help to apply mandate and all requirements on the ground on daily basis. So my job is quite like marathon. So every day you need more and more and more the same extended skills and emotions.
Thank you so much, Olga. Maybe Drina could tell us about her most exciting projects or events. I think they would be very interesting for our applicants.
Okay, so my most exciting was probably a couple of weeks ago, but I'm going to skip forward a little bit because I want to say that as Gafia stated earlier, she said grab your chair and take it to the table. Well, I was actually invited to actually brief the Ukrainian president, and that was like my most exciting position. Actually, when someone asked me, the DCM asked me, and I did that, and I was the only female in that briefing. And one thing I want to say is you can see the impact that the mission have on the ground when you start doing a project. I started out in 2016 as a monitor, and I worked in operations, human dimensions, gender, and team leader investigation team. I then applied as the hub leader, and this is my current position right now. With OSCE, the opportunities are limitless. And like I said, I love that quote that Delphia made. You have to grab your chair and you take it to the table.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That is loud and clear indeed. If I were to give a little account of what has been most exciting for me in my career at the OSCE, I would say that it is the fact that we have the possibility to be mobile and to move from one executive structure to another, from one program to another, which makes our experience really rich. And this wealth of knowledge can only make your next job, can only make you contribute to your next job even more. When I worked for the mission in Serbia on projects that concern reporting of journalists on corruption or economic development of the country post year 2000, there was an element of a code of ethics in investigative journalism and journalism in general that was very relevant for the mission at the time. And moving forward, fast forward to some of my other roles, which, for example, is the acting ethics coordinator role, you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of what the OSCE is doing? And where does the OSCE want to be a best practice example? So in terms of our operations and management, looking at staff, but at managers as well, as to how we do our work in a manner that is compliant with best ethical standards and with integrity standards of international organizations, I'd say that it was really exciting to develop this knowledge from a prior role and many others in terms of results-based management as well, which looks at what the objective OSCE is. And one other very exciting role that I had was to benchmark the OSCE against the UN agencies. 51 agencies of the UN and affiliated entities participated in a survey on sexual harassment in the workplace. And together with the Director of Human Resources and very much embraced by the Secretary General at the time, Thomas Greminger, we actually inquired with all of our 3,500 employees. As I said, that's a big organization. With of course, smaller response rate, but for those that were interested in giving accounts about their experiences of possible breaches of the code of conduct, we had a very comprehensive picture, and we drafted a sexual harassment action plan that aimed to focus on our code of conduct and various policies that define proper conduct in the workplace. And for me, that was really extremely exciting. Maybe another aspect of what we do is about learning. And looking at our careers at the OSCE or in other international organizations or other organizations in the corporate sector, what would you say that you have learned about managing your career? Delphia, would you like to share that?
Yes, thank you very much, Yelena. I was actually reflecting at some point whether it is we who choose the path or is it the path who chooses us. But jokes aside, if there's one thing that I learned about career in international organizations is that you are responsible for your own career path. Absolutely nobody else. The best talent management programs that your employer may offer, the best human resources management practices and opportunities are only tools that can help you. If I can use an analogy, it's like most expensive gym membership, best personal trainers, most qualified dietitians or coaches cannot make you fit. It is you who needs to sweat and self-discipline. But reflecting on the same analogy, what I have seen in the OSCE compared to other international organizations who are actually way better resourced is the very unique human resources talent management practices and opportunities we have. From outreach and candidate experience in recruitment to the learning programs that are being put together, tailored for each function and desire, the opportunity are limitless. The only limitation is probably the amount of time you can spend on your own development. But beyond that, you also have quite flexible working arrangements that is not only conducive to advancing your career, but it is also conducive to wives and mothers, if we are speaking about women. It is hugely important for me to be able to balance my responsibilities as a mother. I have 2 children, as a wife, but also as a daughter who provides care for my parents and parents-in-law. So this is where OSCE, I think, stands out, even among other international organizations, including the UN. So as I said, so far I'm counting my blessings with the OSCE in my first 6 months. My first months when I was very impressed, everybody was telling me, it's a honeymoon, it's a honeymoon. Well, it looks like I'm walking into honey year and maybe honey years with the OSCE. Of course, it is not pink and rosy. Of course, there are challenges. There are issues that we need to resolve. But the talent management that I'm seeing at the OSCE is one of the best, definitely top of the league. Over to you, Elena.
Thank you so much, Gelfia. Ilknur, could you tell us a bit about your experience in the international civil service since you've joined from the corporate sector, and tell us some of the advantages that you may have seen at the OSCE?
Yeah, definitely, Yelena. So what can I say? Because what is the main difference is I think the time frame of the projects or the decisions. Then what I learned is generally in this short time frame, it is the key that you need to be patient. So even you can understand this from the recruitment process because it takes quite a long time. You need to be patient, and then you need to, because there are so many different cultures working together, the best thing is everybody is respecting each other and understanding. So this is really harmonized working environment with different cultures, which I feel, which I feel amazing when I'm working. Then when I say to all the participants that you need to open for the learning, because when you join the international organization, I believe that in which organization you ever go, you will learn you will add new dictionaries into your career journey, and you will learn new information. So this is quite good because as a person, as a human being, we always need to be hungry for the information, because it never ends. You need to always update yourself, update your knowledge, and then you will enjoy it. So it's not going to be boring, or it's not going to be a routine for you, but always exciting. So this is what I can say for the old women just joining us today.
Thank you so much, Ilknur. Olga, on to you.
Elena, can you hear me? There's a problem with my microphone.
It's excellent.
Oh, okay. From my point of view and my experience, I see OSCE as an organization with very strong vision on gender mainstreaming in all aspects. Women are very well supported and encouraged to apply to all positions, including senior management positions, decision-making positions. So never stop trying and never give up to apply, and be patient, be confident. You will be the right candidate for certain position. You will continue to learn here, and this learning process is, OSCE gives you opportunity to continue to develop yourself while you are working already here. I think this is the greatest which we can say. There are so many opportunities to continue to learn, to continue to develop yourself theoretically and practically, working on the ground with the wonderful experts whom we have on the ground, and continue to learn from those resources which we have available. Even not going anywhere now with the impact of COVID-19, we have many opportunities to develop ourselves with the frame of our working hours. So this is a great place. Please do apply. Thank you. Over to you, Elena.
Thank you so much, Olga. This was a perfect transition. We were thinking about giving one piece of advice to our listeners from our personal experience when it comes to considering the OSCE path. And I would like to say that my key piece of advice would be to be brave, to be bold, to be creative, to trust in your skills, knowledge, experience, education, to be confident about them. As Olga said, never stop learning. And it's worth taking risks. Nobody will take a chance on you until you take a chance on yourself. So be brave and be bold. Maybe Tea, you could tell us what your advice is.
Yeah, absolutely, Elena. I mean, I fully agree with you. And also on my side, I would like to mention that, of course, I mean, keeping abreast of developments in your specific areas of expertise is something very important. And also using every single opportunity of similar events like we do, for example, here, because, I mean, for example, about 2 years ago, I was fortunate to participate in the talent acquisition program, which was really, I mean, a great opportunity for me to increase my skills and knowledge for applying for the OSCE positions, but not only, and also getting familiar with the number of very important issues. And maybe last but not least, it's something that we should remain patient, because regretfully, as also Gelfia mentioned, I mean, things are not at ease. Sometimes, I mean, we simply need to rethink and to reflect a little bit and being patient, because I mean it's not always easy to achieve something, but of course we need to give our best and try our best, but try to reflect and analyze what has been wrong or what has been right, and then with a fresh mind continue and do things step by step. This is usually that is my approach to the issues. So yeah.
Thank you, Tea. Maybe we could have Ilknur tell us a bit about her advice.
Yeah, definitely. So unfortunately, the process can be longer than expected. For that reason, I highly advise them to be patient and never give up, because in a time period you feel, you start feeling that demotivated or you're losing your attention, but never do that. Always be focused and go for it until the end. So this is what I have done, to be honest, during my process. I also want to tell about something about the recruitment bootcamp, because I joined the recruitment bootcamp organized by the HR in 2019. And the bootcamp has made a huge change on how I refine my application to translate my experience in the private sector to an international organization environment. And also it really helped me to prepare for the interviews. In this bootcamp, you receive really beneficial information on how you need to do your application, how you need to prepare yourself for the interviews. For that reason, I really recommend all applicants to check the also webinar outreach program, that if you can't join the bootcamp, because in these webinars you can have a better understanding for the application process.
Thank you so much. Maybe I would like to ask Drina for her opinion, what it is that, in terms of one piece of advice, would be crucial for our applicants to know.
I would encourage the women to believe more in their potentials and to be determined on the path toward their goals and believe that they can be the change that everyone is expecting. Basically to invest in their educational and professional growth and strive for excellence.
Thank you so much. Would Olga and Gelfia like to add something with regards to their tips?
I can. I would say two pieces from what I have learned so far. First, I would like ladies to be aware of their comfort zone. In my view, the moment when you start feeling that you are acing your job, you're really hitting high in terms of potential, it means you're already late in your move to a next position. To continuously stay within the growth area, we need to continue growing. Sorry for tautology. Similarly, and this is very pertinent and relevant to the OSCE job descriptions. By looking at the job description, you think you are fully qualified for the role, you tick all the boxes, you tick all the requirements and desired and preferred qualifications. If you tick all the boxes, you are considering a wrong role. You are overqualified for that role. Do not aim for ticking all the boxes. Of course, you need to be qualified, but ticking all the boxes may leave very little in terms of your growth area. And another element, and I think my colleagues touched upon this, being confident maybe is easier said than done, or feeling more confident. What I'm asking you to consider, be aware of imposter syndrome. That's a very notorious and primarily female quality of feeling just not good enough, feeling that maybe you're not ideal candidate. Many of us do have those syndromes occasionally, at least I do, and sometimes you can't help having it, but being aware helps you manage this. So do take time to analyze, to think about it, and make sure you are managing your own self-perceptions and how others perceive you. You're better than you think. I can assure you of this. Thank you very much, Yelena.
Thanks so much. Olga?
Thank you, Elena. So very well said by dear colleagues, panelists. So never stop trying, stay focused and never give up. Fully agree. When you reach interview phase, Do not be afraid of I message, answering interview questions. Put elephant in the room. Do demonstrate example from your own experience, not only theoretical knowledge, but also your own achievements, your own successes and mistakes. Yes, mistakes, your lesson learned and best practices. It shaped you as a professional and it demonstrates your potential and capacity. Talk about it during the interview. Don't be shy to talk about it. Over to you, Elena.
Thanks so much. I think it's really important to talk about our talent acquisition program, and I would maybe ask Thea to tell us a little bit about her experience with the TAP. I think you participated a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely, Elena. I mean, one more time that I would like to reiterate, it was indeed a great opportunity. Given that it was a very combined and harmonized approach to the issues. On one hand, looking at the mandate of the OSCE, the commitments, the legal institutional perspectives, and on the other hand, looking into very practical tips and let's say tools that would help you to tailor your performance, because actually at the end we do what we do, it's we are performing, we are showing our skills and knowledge and capacities to someone who is about to and thinking to hire or not to hire us. So I think it was indeed a great opportunity, and I truly hope that this program would continue extensely, and the other, in particular women, will be given opportunities to participate in this unique type of training, because it's really something that we need in order, because sometimes we women, at least myself, sometimes we have an issues with the self-confidence, and we need to know everything 100% in order to think that we're good at doing something. And this was actually for me something that really encouraged me at a later stage to apply for the positions that I was aiming at, and was able, of course, to be engaged. And so I think that it's very important if also other women interested, of course, in intergovernmental sector and interested in the domains that the OSCE is covering, to apply, and of course, keep trying to increase their skills and knowledge in this area. Thank you.
Yes. Welcome. Thank you. I think it is very important to emphasize that because you meet the minimum criteria also doesn't mean that you should move forward in the process. So we really recommend preparing well for your job applications, and then there's also an OSCE webinar under the same title, preparing the job application, so that you can learn exercises and prepare properly. With regards to various application tips, I would like us to cover in brief, because we have about 5-10 minutes left, to think about those application tips that would be relevant for women in particular. There is a difference actually in the way women and men apply for jobs. Actually, numerous HR studies show that women are more likely to apply only if they meet 100% of the qualifications, or at least 80% of the qualifications that are requested, whereas men tend to have a much lower threshold, significantly lower, double less. What would you, Thea, say would be your application tip?
Yelena, again, to me, I would encourage again that if you really don't meet 100%, still apply. Of course, it doesn't mean that, this is something non-pertinent to your work or your experience, but really believe in yourself, because this is something very important, and reflect on the work and your career path, because there will be so many things that will pop up immediately, and you will understand that, oh my gosh, I have done this, I have done that, etc. So I think, don't think that you have to really, satisfy all the criteria, not the only required, but also desirable. But just if you see that you might be fit for this particular role and you would like to try yourself in this role, think of, your career path, how you can contribute to it, and show it to the recruiter. This is the most important. Try to show it to you. To the recruiter, for them also to understand that you are really eligible, irrespective of the fact that you might not satisfy everything as listed in the terms of reference.
Thanks very much. I think this difficulty is particularly present in our calls for applications for seconded posts, and the way that we structure our vacancy notices for those are the so-called calls for applications or calls for nomination. They indicate a bit of less sensitivity to this approach that we're advocating for now. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're still not able to adjust our so-called REACT system, rapid deployment system. But in the future, we hope to be able to address this. For contracted positions, we do express much greater sensitivity to these matters when it comes to equal opportunities for both men and women. I would like to emphasize that our applicants should look at the website and the link www.jobs.osce.org provides all of this useful information. And also, I would like to give a heads up for a virtual recruitment boot camp for women taking place twice in November 2020. This is our first virtual recruitment boot camp run by the Department of Human Resources. One of the many events we run to enhance capacity and to make applicants understand the international civil service recruitment process so they can feel more confident both in applying and in interviewing for positions. Actually, we had a pilot boot camp before, so this one is, these two are definitely building on the experience we have acquired so far and the interests of applicants as well. So in order for women to be considered, those with relevant backgrounds to our comprehensive approach to security should complete a brief application by accessing the survey on bit.ly/rvbootcamp as soon as possible. For comprehensive information on our recruitment processes, as I said, please visit our website. And you can also link to our prior webinars and subscribe to our monthly talent acquisition newsletter. I would say that these have been the most important messages we wanted to give to you. And I would like to really very much thank all of the panelists and to maybe invite some of you who are listening to ask us questions. And in case there are any questions we cannot cover today, we will also try to answer them post-webinar. So I'd say we give it a shot with 5 questions from participants. Gustavo, would you be able to assist with this?
Sure, perfectly fine. Thank you very much for the great job, Yelena. Now I know I don't have to do that every month anymore, which is super. Thank you again, ladies, for all your encouraging messages. I've been looking at the comments you made, and they're very inspired, and the messaging about putting yourself forward, bringing the folding chair, speaking up, making sure that you keep up with the marketplace, making sure that you keep up with what's going on in the industry, the area of expertise that you work for, makes you sound like an articulate and intelligent candidate like you are. So we are looking forward to receiving your applications. So let's field a few questions in here. And if that's okay with most of you, I need to select questions that are more generic so we can actually attend to the needs of most people, okay? So feel free again to ask questions, and then we'll select the most generic ones. I'll give you a few seconds so that we can have more questions entered, and then we can select them. Well, one question I have here is, how would you structure the application, and what would you emphasize with the small to very little experience, let's say 1 year after university? We do have internship programs, and we also have a few programs such as the Junior Professional Officer programs for people that have little or a few months of experience. One thing that's very important is the following, especially for those who want to be an international civil servant. Nothing says that you need to start at the OSCE right away. Nothing says that you need to start at the UN right away. There are plenty of other opportunities for you to take and gain experience. So if you feel like for some reason you're not meeting the threshold for consideration, get experience somewhere else and come back to us. There's absolutely nothing to that. It's perfectly fine for you to really try. You might find out that, okay, you want to support the Sustainable Development Goals. Nobody says you need to be at the UN for that. So make sure that you understand exactly where you are in your career, understand the job description. Take a look at our webinar, jobs.osce.org, especially the webinar on preparing a job application for the OSCE, where we actually run an exercise in which you compare the duties and responsibilities with your own experience. Okay, let's go to another question now. Okay, regarding to what you were saying earlier about not meeting all criteria, what if the criteria that's not met is the specific years of experience? That's a very important criteria. The United Nations, the OSCE, and international organizations tend to take the years of experience very seriously. What we're talking about all criteria is necessarily the perfect background. So your job, and this is something that we really emphasize in the webinar, preparing for a job application for the OSCE, is how do you compare against the marketplace? How do you show the hiring manager, okay, I'm looking at the duties and responsibilities, not just at the minimum requirements, okay? Looking at the duties and responsibilities. Have I done that before? Yes, good. Describe in your application exactly how you've done that. Have you not done that? Fine. How do you show that you've done similar things in the past? Have you not done similar things in the past? Okay. Show how you have transferable skills. This is really very important, okay? Let's look at another question here. If the candidate has been successful in the interview process in the past but didn't get the position, to what extent the past interview outcomes are considered in future recruitment processes? None. Each recruitment process at international organizations consider that recruitment process alone. So that means that if you've done interviews before and you didn't pass or you didn't do well, we assume that there's been growth in between the months or years, or maybe it wasn't necessarily the fit, or maybe you were the fit, but there was someone who was slightly better. Or maybe you were the fit, but there was someone with a nationality that had less representation, and we needed that person even though you all were of equal merit. One important thing you need to think is the following. The role of human resources in talent acquisition is not to give people jobs. I'll repeat. The role of human resources in talent acquisition is not to give people jobs. It's also not the role of the interview board members. Our role is to identify the top 2 to 3 candidates to recommend to the appointing authority. And it's up to the appointing authority to make that decision. We are encouraged to recommend 2 to 3 people, and it's up to the Secretary General, the head of mission, the director of the institution, the High Commissioner, or whoever it is, the highest authority in the organization at the time, to make a decision between 2 to 3 candidates based on the report, but also based on her or his own understanding of the organizational needs, and that's it. Okay? We have gone way above our time today. I will send it back to Elena to give the closing. And on my behalf and on behalf of the Talent Acquisition Unit at the Secretariat, we do want to say thank you very much for your interest in the organization, and we are looking forward to seeing your applications coming through.
I would like to say that I have personally been inspired by the stories of their career paths, of my colleagues' career paths, and I hope that those of you that are highly qualified, motivated, also motivated by these stories, will reach out to the OSCE and look for opportunities to work with us. I would hereby like to close the panel, and I wish you a lot of luck in your application process.